Hello and welcome to Castellon for the final match of this incredible tournament. We have Australia versus Turkey in the under-23 men's division. It's been an overcast day here in Castellon with a little bit of rain, which hasn't been happening much during the week. Both teams have lined up on the side. They have heard the national anthems from both countries, and teams now entering the pool, preparing themselves for the final match of this tournament. The big match of the final day, the gold medal playoff for the under-23 boys. We can see coach from Australia, Nick Martin there, rousing up his Australian boys, getting them ready for this monumental match. And I have a colleague at the moment from Great Britain. How are you going?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
Good, thank you. Now, I'm Nina Barry-McCauley. I'll just introduce myself. I'm the coach of the under-23 women from Australia, and you are?
My name's Lewis Salim. I've been doing a lot of the commentary with Nick, the coaching under 23 men's team, and I think I bumped into you yesterday as you were about to commentate on his game against the Kiwis.
Beautiful. We can see the Australians chanting away there. Turkey down the other end of the pool. Number 2 there, rallying his players, keeping them all focused, and a big cheer from Turkey as they prepare for the grand final.
I think it's fair to say, Nina, that the Turkish have taken a lot of countries by surprise by their performance in this World Championships
They certainly
4
have.
years ago.
Absolutely. One of the up-and-coming countries, I would say, Turkey. They've got an incredible presence on the bottom here. Very strong bottom time, great commitment to the puck, and a really impressive effort so far. So they will certainly give those Aussies a run for their money. The Australians coming into this game number 1 seed, so they'll be obviously looking to maintain their title.
Yeah, they did win the round robin. The game between themselves and Turkey in the round robin ending 2-2. Turkey were 2-0 up in that game, and the Australians clawed it back when the Turkish were down to 4 in the water for the final stages of that game. One of the only games that they didn't win in that group stage, because of course up to this point the Australians are undefeated.
That's right. So it's certainly going to be a close match, this one. We can see the puck there, ready and waiting in the middle of the pool. Crowds are chanting up in the stands here. I haven't seen the stands this full yet, so there's a lot of people up there. It's quite warm, it's quite sweaty. There'll be very few voices left at the end of this match, I'm sure.
Yeah, the crowd was a sea of black earlier for the Kiwi games in the under-19s division, and slowly but surely it's filling up to a sea of white as the Australians pack in there. I'm sure we'll be able to see the hair and the stance of Sandra as she cheers on. She's got her 2 boys in this game, I believe.
She sure does, and we will certainly, I'm sure we'll hear her voice soaring above the others. She's very enthusiastic. That's Sandra Milner, who's actually the team manager for the Australian team, so she's got a big role to play over here as well, not just the top supporter, but also the team manager. Now, I do have to do a brief shout out before we start here. I know that there are some parties happening, some finals parties down under. So a shout out to those people who are watching down in Hobart, down in Melbourne, across in Perth. I'm sure the boys know how proud of them you are, and I'm sure they know that you're watching.
I have one question for you, Nina, just before this game starts. Is Hobart ready for 4 years' time when they, of course, will be hosting... Sorry, 2 years' time. When they will be hosting this the 4th World Age Group Championships?
Well, look, I'm sure they will be ready. Hobart is certainly one of the best cities we have in Australia for hosting underwater hockey tournaments. The facilities there are fantastic, and that's where we hold a lot of the training camps, and that's where we've held the training camps in the lead up to these Worlds. It's very central for us, surprisingly, even though it is so far south, because a lot of our players do come from Hobart. So probably half of this team here in the water and half of my own team were hailing from Hobart. So great facilities down there for underwater hockey. Turkey getting that puck first on the first strike of this match, forcing Australia back, maintaining possession and a drive down the wall. And Turkey have the puck very quickly into Australia's defending corner. A lot of numbers on the bottom there. And they're fighting that puck along the back wall. There has been a call made. It's hard to tell. Gloving against Turkey. Australia's advantage puck. That was very quick off that strike there. Turkey taking it down the wall and just barreling it long.
Yeah, the Turkish have a big physical presence in the pool. As soon as you get them on the wall, it was very tough. Our boys, I've been playing for the under-23 Great Britain men's team, and we struggled against them on the wall. One thing that we did quite well against other teams, but they met us equally in that wall process. But Australia switching it across now.
That's right. Australia will be looking to open it up. They don't like to play the wall, especially against a team with such physical presence. They'll be looking to do some switches to open it up, and that's exactly what they've done here. Turkey getting it back onto that wall, though. And there's been another call made here. Again against Turkey, this time a stick infringement, so that does mean players back home that the Turkish player going for the puck has actually made contact with the player with the puck's arm and not the puck.
Turkey just got to be careful accumulating those minor fouls, something that undid them a lot of times in the group stage against some teams was the fact they accumulated these fouls when in the second half team warnings came out and their continuation meant that they lost players out of the pool.
So if they do continue to make those fouls, those gloving and stick infringement fouls that we've already seen, they will get a team warning, and after that players will get kicked out. And in a game like underwater hockey, you really can't afford it. Another infringement there against Turkey, so they will have to start playing and cleaning up their act a little bit. Australia flicking it straight to a Turkish player there, but managing to regain possession. Taking it to the wall and just a quick pull back, but it has been stolen by one of the Turkish forwards. Australia looking for the support there from their back. A big tussle on the wall there. These boys are very strong. And quite close to the Turkish attacking goal tray there, so Australia will be looking to clear it wide, to keep it in that safety zone, and to clear it out of defence.
Of course, the advantage here for Australia being in that corner as opposed to the far side of the pool, they are underneath their own subs bin, so they can tire the Turkish out by getting in fresh players almost on every play. But called by the referees, Nina.
I imagine that will be a call against Turkey, and it is. So the referees were obviously playing advantage puck there, and they made the call when Turkey got possession of the puck and started driving. Another advantage puck for Australia. That's the fourth call so far against Turkey in less than 4 minutes. So who knows, we might be seeing some team warnings issued in this first half after all.
It's good for Australia, though, to be put under that pressure but not coming up with any fouls, because that's one of the things the Turkish coming out with what's called goal line fever, getting closer towards the goal and just being so desperate to score that they're starting to make mistakes. But the Australians under the pressure defensively, and they're holding out without making those mistakes, which is good to see professionally.
There has been a call made against Australia this time. You can see how close and tight those Australian forwards are sitting there. Turkey going straight into the pack. Australia maintaining their bottom time to try and push it back through. Turkey in clean possession here with a couple of running forwards out in front looking for that pass. They're driving it once again into that attacking corner. Australia managing to keep it out and away from the goal tray. They are under a lot of pressure in defence here.
I think one thing that is helping the Australians and is a big disadvantage to Turkey is the style of this pull, having the curved corners rather than one flat edge, because the Turkish would have looked in a normal pull to beat it down that back wall, use that physical strength that they have. But because of the curve, it's just any little slight touch sends it straight up and almost onto that ledge, in fact. And it's just something that a lot of teams have had to adjust to throughout this tournament process.
Absolutely. Australia under a lot of pressure here. Turkey getting it quite close to that goal tray. But the back line in Australia is cycling well and managing to clear it out to the corner. Turkey coming through again, and that looks like it went straight in the bin there. Beautiful flick from Turkey, straight past the Australian back and into the goal. That's the first goal of this game, Turkey's way.
Yes, number 2 scoring there. You said at the start, Nina, he was getting his whole team fired up, and he's leading by example there, scoring
That's
the first
right.
goal of this game.
Turkey will be very happy with that. It's really important to get yourself one up early on in this game, and they've managed to score in just under 6 minutes, so a great result for them.
Turkish Ferry also signalling to take their team time out after their first goal, coming after just over 5 minutes and 36 seconds, meaning 9 remaining in the half.
So Turkey has called a timeout here. Both teams are able to call one timeout per half. A timeout consists of 60 seconds, so it's often an opportunity for you to either take a break and refocus and have a little breather, for the coach to come in and sort of give some advice. We can see Coach Nick Martin there with the Australian boys. They're all in together. They're putting their hands in, giving some words of wisdom, I imagine, to his boys there. Nick's been through quite a few worlds himself, and he's certainly been in this situation a couple of times, so I'm sure he's got a few pearls of wisdom to pass on.
What do you think he was saying to his team there, Nina? Just try and just keep it cool, play their game. There's still plenty of time left in this one. Just don't panic.
I think so. I think he would have been saying, stay focused, boys. You know what you have to do. Let's get in there and do it.
There have been a lot of close games, very even matchups. The first game of today in the third place playoff, that went to overtime. Your team's game was just a one goal.
One goal in it.
One goal in it, and it's just amazing. The previous game, under 23's women's division, that was a high-scoring game, but just at half-time there was only one goal in it, and it was just the fact that Netherlands pushing so far out the part of the court of play, the Colombians were able to just swim all the way through, time after time. But Australia with it now, and a nice switch
there. That's number 11 from Australia, Mitchell Piccoli. He hails from Perth, from the western side of Australia, finishing off that switch. Australia will be looking to do that, to switch it around to the other side of the pool, to open it up and spread those Turkish players apart.
Looks like it's been intercepted by a Turkish player though, and he's making a bit more headway towards that far corner once again.
And there has been a call made. We've heard the buzzer go. A referee
saying, I think, an illegal use of his free arm as he swam past that player there.
Looked like a free arm there. So it's against Turkey. Australia's advantage puck.
I know you were saying there that obviously the Australians, they do like to switch it around that back line to stretch the play. Just very hard to do that, very risky in front of your own goal tray.
That's right, it is. Often they'll be looking for those switches a little bit further up the pool, but here they've just gone for another one. That back looking for the Australian forward there and just not quite getting that pass over that Turkish player, being intercepted. Australia will be looking to take it back to the wall now, to play it safe as the Turkish push it onto their defence. Another call made, again against Turkey.
Just picking up again on what I said before the game, Turkey accumulating all these small fouls. It won't be too long before we see this team warning come out.
That's right. Turkey once again taking it right into that defending corner. A bit hard to see with all the bubbles here, but we can see that it hasn't gone towards the goals and a call has been made. This time against Australia, we didn't quite see what the call was. So an opportunity for Turkey to really capitalise on this advantage puck very close to their attacking goal tray.
Turkey must be very confident in the fitness of their team with the fact that they're going to that far side away from not only their subs bin but the Australian subs bin. It's a very inappropriate place for a team to sub when they are that far away, because it is almost the opposite side of the pool to where they want to be for subbing.
Another call, and it looks like we may have a Turkish player. We do. We've got one player being kicked out for 1 minute here. Looks like the call was for barging, so that's against Turkey. What we were saying before about the physical presence of these Turkish boys, they do have to be careful with barging, so they cannot use their bodies to swim into other players while they've got possession of the puck. You can't push another player out of the way using your body.
Yeah, the one that some teams struggle to come down on with that blocking rule is where some player is allowed to swim as if they're about to take the puck. But if there's an Australian player to come try and get through to that Turkish player and they're swimming in the way, then it's still blocking or shepherding in the other way because they're just allowing that player to swim unopposed.
That's right. Australia's advantage puck. Oh no, it was an equal puck there. Called in the middle of the pool. Australia looking to open it up. Big flicks from these boys. This time making it just to that forward. Australian back there, number 10, Callum Wishart, who finished off that switch and created a beautiful drive down the wall there when he couldn't quite get it to his forward.
Great bottom time by him there. That's that's what you really need in most situations. There was nobody down around him, and he just stayed there, did his job, and saw the puck out.
And bottom time and numbers is really pivotal, particularly in finals hockey. At the end of the day, it can be the team that has the most numbers on the bottom that really wins the match. Everybody's exhausted. They're all tired after a big week of hockey, so having those numbers and that support means a lot.
Yeah, I was just about to say that looked like a dangerous flick by the Turkish player. I wouldn't be surprised to see, yes, he has been sent out for 2 minutes for that flick, went straight up and hit him in the face, and the referee is going to take a timeout.
Turkey down to 5 here, and Australia still 6, so they will be looking to capitalise on this power play here and score a goal to even the playing field. Beautiful free puck from Australia there, deciding to take it back to the back and doing a little switch around here to create some more space, spreading those Turkish players apart. Not quite reaching the forwards there, just a little bit late getting down. Australia maintaining possession though. Again, opening it up with a nice deep switch. That back choosing to go back through the other way.
It is a very nice move, the switch which Australia keep doing in this game. It just seems like on that free puck, the Turkish are actually expecting it and they set themselves up just to go straight on the 45 to try and cut out that switch, which he nearly did that time.
And that's a free arm call against Australia. 1 minute. Australian player number 1. Tommy Milner from Tasmania being kicked out for 1 minute there for a free arm. So it's 5 against 5 here with an Australian player in the sin bin and a Turkish player as well.
Those two will probably be getting in just about the same time. Hakan Kutlu is on the clock at 45 seconds, as is Thomas Milner for the Australians. Referee call on the surface. He's given a personal warning, I think, to the Turkish for that move. But again, we didn't see the signal, but it is an Australian free puck on the halfway line nearly. Australia trying to control the puck in the centre of the court.
That's right.
Again, coming up against that big physical Turkish defence. And there's been a call on the surface by the referees.
Another
obstruction call
against Australia. It looks like Australia's called a timeout. You can see the captain, Matt McCartney, going up and having a quick chat to the referee there. Coach Nick Martin pulling his team in for a little bit of a quick conversation here.
Seems like Australia, since his first talk just after that Turkish goal, has it spurred them on. They're taking a lot more control of the game, pushing against the Turkish rather than sitting back and letting them attack, as we saw in the early stages of this first half.
That's right. In the beginning of the game, the Turkish had it right up there, really close to the Australian defending goal tray for a lot of the time, and Australia have managed to open up the play to create some drives through the middle of the pool, and certainly opened it up with a few really good switches in there. So we'll see how they progress as the game goes on and whether Turkey can step back up into that attacking.
Just under 2 minutes left in the first. Australian timeout coming to an end, so the Australians already down. Turkish lining up and ready to take the free puck, and here we go.
Turkish player deciding to take it right into the middle of the pack there. Australia gaining a little bit of possession, but just managed to committing themselves to the wall there.
Hard to see the puck at the moment. A lot of bodies down around it.
Bodies. Has been a call made. Looks like it might be against Turkey. The free arm.
Still no warnings issued by the referee. I'm
right.
thinking that they might be wanting to try and keep it as evenly paced as they can throughout the first half, and then if the fouls continue, then they'll be made to pay in that second half.
Risky switch by Australia there, taking it across the pool, quite close to their goal tray.
Over on that far wall, bringing us into the last minute as we have another stoppage by the referees. And it's an advantage puck to Australia for that chopping of the arm, signalling a stick infringement. The player either going for the arm or hitting the stick first, trying to get the puck away from an Australian player.
See the Australian forward there trying to get it past that Turkish player, but it looks like it might be a call again against Turkey. And that looks like there's been a kick out for Turkey there for that stick infringement. So
yeah, I was just looking to see if he was actually given a warning to number 2, but it's number 13 who has been sent out for the second time in this first period for 2 minutes. 10 seconds remain in the first half.
We can hear the crowd counting down up in the stands there. Those last few seconds. And that's time. Turkey leading 1-0 against Australia in the grand final here in Castellon.
A lot of people come out to see this one, Nina. Looking out, there's only the under-23s team from Turkey who are the only people here that can support Turkey as a team and player-wise. But a big turnout for the Australians, as we expected.
That's right. We do have a large contingent here this year, fielding an Australian team in each of the 4 divisions. So I imagine that all of the players and all of the parents will be up there right now cheering on these Aussie boys.
Another couple of minutes for both coaches to speak to their teams. We've seen this situation before in numerous games throughout this tournament. And I'm sure he'll just be saying the same thing. The Turkish will be just saying that they need to play their game. Their coach, I think, will be. He's got a very offensive style of play where he'll want to get that strength rather than holding it and trying to be defensive. He will try and get that second goal and maybe a third to try and make this game safer rather than just hold it and see out the game.
Absolutely. 1-0, there's nothing in that, particularly for finals hockey. I mean, anything can happen. And with 15 minutes, it's 1 goal. Very achievable for Australia. So the Turkish coach will certainly be reinforcing that to his boys, saying it's not over yet, boys. You've got to keep on going. There's 15 more minutes here.
I won't be surprised to see the Australians come out really fast out of the gate for this first strike, being with that extra man in the pool for about 1 minute 30 seconds of this second half period starting soon.
That's right. I'm sure Coach Nick Martin will be down there telling them that they need to capitalise on this first minute and certainly go out and hit those boys hard and lift their intensity.
Yeah, hoping to see the Australians get it down to the Turkish goal tray. Not had much time down there in the first half. It'll just be a test of this Turkish team's fitness. If they can, as I said, they do get tired, they will make some mistakes, and they're having a lot of warnings for, no team warning just yet, but a lot of stick fouls coming up.
That's right, and I am a little bit surprised that there hasn't been a team warning with the amount of stick infringements that have been allocated to the Turkish team, but we'll see what the refs decide in the second half.
Obviously, we forget to mention that the referees do also have this time to talk to one another, and I'm sure that's one thing that will be discussed. They keep a tally of which fouls happen at which times, and we'll just be saying, Nathan Peel there, one of the men in charge of the clipboard, he will be saying just how frequently they are doing it, and maybe if it continues in the second half, then that team warning will need to be issued. So good working refereeing teams here so far this World Championships.
Second half is underway here in Castellon for the last game of this tournament, the under-23 men's grand final match against Turkey against Australia. Turkey currently leading with 1 goal. Taking that strike right to the wall there. Turkey putting a big push and a lot of pressure on the Australian players here, but Australia managing to keep it wide and clear it to that wall. A little bit of a blur there on that camera, folks. Sorry about that. That is when the camera's focusing on something that's closer to it, like a little speck that might be in the pool rather than the game that's on the other side. And Turkey look like they've put it in the bin here.
We're going to see if that might be scooped out of the goal, or let's see what the referees are calling that as. No, it's been given as a second goal for Turkey, putting the pressure on with that man disadvantage, still having 1 in the bin, and they've managed to score a second, Nina.
That's right. It seems like a little bit of a repeat of the first half here, with Turkey coming out very strong, forcing Australia onto the back foot down that wall and shooting it through into the goal tray for a very quick goal. Turkey again calling a quick timeout, it seems. No?
No, they're underway again. Australian fans finding their voice. Turkey again getting to the strike. Australia just seem happy to set up. That one Turkish player is distancing himself so far from the team that when he's turning looking for that support, he's just isolated, and the Australians trying to capitalise on that. But again, they're driving down that far wall, Nina.
That's right. There has been a call made here. It looks like it might be. Okay. That's stick infringement against Turkey. And they have got a player in the bin for 1 minute here.
The player who was already out on the side will be allowed to enter the water once the puck has been moved by Australia, but they're being very smart with this, taking it towards the Turkish sub-bench so that that player has to swim a long way to get involved with the play.
Quite a high flick from the Australian back there, but there's been no call made.
No, the Turkish player did very well to catch it with a stick. Sometimes it's a test of character. You can catch it with your stick and knock it down, or you can let it hit you in the face, which is very unnatural.
That's right.
But if it's coming straight at you and you just freeze, that sometimes happens. And another Turkish player sent to the bin here, Nina.
That's right. Australia will be looking to capitalise on this. They'll be 6 against 4 for a moment, and you mentioned that this is how they scored in the game in the round robin. Is that right?
Yeah, 6 against 4 in the round robin. They neutralised them, and then they did that switch play, opening it up. It's very hard for a team of 4 to take on a team of 6, and I believe that might be for a false start made by the Turkish. No, it's for blocking, and it's against the Australians.
Imagine that would have been one of the Australian forwards setting up and blocking one of the Turkish players to attack the puck there.
Yeah, it's been a rule that's been very fine cut through this World Championships. If the Australian player got down to the floor first, he's allowed to hold his position and the Turkish must move around him. But if the Turkish man was to get down first and he went down and sat in front of him, that's a deliberate blocking move. But there's a reversal and a call for Australia right now.
So Australia set up with another opportunity to play 6 on 5 here against Turkey. Australia keeping the puck in the middle there.
The Turkish, as I said, they've noticed that switch move that Australia keep trying to do.
They have,
and they're just trying to cut it out and time again. That Australian back there just outnumbered a Turkish player either side of him as he tries to turn out of the tackles. Just nowhere to go, and he's lost it. And the Turkish making another. They found a back wall, but can't go down it because of that sloping shape.
Australia managing to keep it out in defence here. Beautiful rotation from the Australian players. You can see one going in. When they come off, the next one goes in. Turkey looking like they're just holding it in the corner here, waiting for the opportunity to pass it out to one of their players, but there's too many Australians down. Australia looking to start a drive up that back wall. Turkey getting it really close to the goals there. There's a lot of bodies on the bottom. It's hard to see, but Australia managing to clear it back out to that corner into the safety zone.
Yes, Australia sticking it back out into that corner. Both teams have to be careful here for the cornering rule. The first player is allowed to take it in, and this is for both offense and defensive players. They can take it into the corner, but the second player has to play it out. Even a lot of teams think it's just your defensive corner that you can't take it into, but if an attacker does take it into that area, they have to play out. Otherwise, it's just as much time wasting as defensive.
That's right. has been up on this goal for quite a long time here. I imagine both teams are tiring. Australia doing a really aggressive attack out of defence there.
I think Australia there trying to get it to their subs wall so they can get some fresh players in. I'll see a lot
I imagine
going
we'll see
out.
a few Australians sub here on this free puck. So there has been a call made. It looks like it's been called against Turkey. And it has. We can see the Australians setting up for this free puck.
And they're down and attacking the puck at the moment. It's been driven to that far side again by the Turkish. They like to go in that offside corner.
That's right. They don't seem to be attacking the middle of the goal tray in the same way that other teams do. They do take it down to that corner and try and attack along the back wall, which is actually easier to defend as a back line than it is to defend going straight through the middle.
Something me and Nick were saying, it's a lot easier to score in a goal that's over about 8 feet long as opposed to trying to go to a bit which is just a few inches wider than the puck. And you know, it's hard for teams, but for some teams with that physical strength as Turkey do, it does work.
And it does look like Turkey are very good and very used to playing down a wall. So you can see a little conversation here between the deck ref and the border ref. There's been another call against Turkey. I imagine that deck ref saying maybe it's time we issue some team warnings here, guys.
Yeah, referees making sure they don't disrupt the game too much by taking their time out, meaning the clock stays at 8:41. Still time for Australia to come back into this game. And if this team warning is issued and the Turkish continue, this might help things for the Australians.
There we go. It's a team warning for obstruction for barging for the Turkish team there. So any more calls for that foul after this moment, the Turkish will have players kicked out.
Yes, Australia not doing a lot wrong in terms of foul count or anything, just their game being shut down. See the Turkish players coming across to neutralise that switch so close to the goal line, it is dangerous. We were saying that in the first half, Nina.
Australia deciding to do a switch on their free puck there, and Turkey really shutting it down and getting onto that switch early. So as you were saying before, it does appear like the Turkish have really clued onto that Australian open play and are trying to shut those lateral plays down, giving the Turkish an opportunity to make a drive down the middle.
Australia breaking out down the wall, just holding it under their subs bin as they come under pressure, but allowing the fresh bodies to come in, and there's been a call by the referees.
It's a free arm call against Turkey.
I think with the inverted hand there in a claw-like shape, I think he was referring to the Turkish players. He went down, he had hold of the barrier, which allowed him not to be moved when the Australian pressured against him.
That's right, you can put your hand against the barrier, but you can't hold on to it.
Turkey again trying down the middle this time, going through the Australians.
Australians
just hacking at the puck.
Keep possession. Australian number 5 there, Alex Barnes, but also known as Barnesy, doing a great effort to keep it on the wall.
Great tackling there by the Turkish forward, but nowhere to go as he just went into the corner. Further down the pool, he'd have had a lot more space to swim in.
See number 2 there, Josh McKenzie from WA. When you see him next to some of these Turkish players, he does look rather small, but it's his agility and his skill and possession that really puts him at the level of these older players. He's a fantastic player from Western Australia. And the puck's just slid out underneath the barrier there. So it will be called as an equal puck.
First time I've seen it go underneath the barrier. That's
right,
just a bit of a flex.
Yeah. These walls obviously feeling as tight as the players, I'd say. Yeah,
they've had a tough 8 days of competitive hockey going on, and that's not including the warm-up games, because you guys have been out here a lot longer than a lot of the other teams. But with some of these Turkish boys pushing up against it, they're doing well to hold out so far.
Yeah. We can see the Australians and the Turkish, they're setting up for this equal puck here. Turkey do have the slight advantage, being close to their attacking goal. Australia managing to get down before the Turkish there.
Interesting technique by the Turkish. The Turkish have been something we found in one of the semi-final games. the player that's going down, a player sits next to him, and as he's going down, he pushes him down as well. Just a different style to see there.
I have seen that. I saw that in the New Zealand girls game as well, a similar technique, and it doesn't actually seem to have the effect thereafter, particularly when on that equal puck just then it was the Australian player who did appear to get down first.
Yeah, because of buoyancy and resistance in the water, I see the player that's pushing him down going out of the water before the player in the water is getting pushed down until gravity's taking its effect. So,
that's right.
but I mean, they keep going with it, and sometimes it does work and take teams by surprise. But Australia have a free puck now as they're on the halfway line.
Callum Wishart from Australia here taking this free puck. Callum is a Victorian at heart, but has recently moved to Tasmania, so I'm not quite sure what he identifies as at the moment. Moved to Tasmania to improve his hockey and train with his teammates, as I was saying before, Hobart being one of the biggest centres for underwater hockey in Australia.
Out on the far side of the pool, difficult to see who the puck's with. It looks like the Turks driving it, but Australia have come out with it and they've got a little space to swim here.
Australia looking good with their possessions and drives, but those Turkish players are just sitting on the bottom and blocking them, and they are incredibly difficult to get through. They have that incredible body presence on the bottom, and when you run into them, the Australian players don't seem to be getting through. They really have to switch it and open it up and take it around.
Yeah, it's almost as if, it's really funny to say, but it's almost as if when the Australians are swimming towards them, the Turkish have just got more strength in that one arm as they reach out and in a sort of punching like motion to put the stick to the puck, but it's actually stopping the Australians swimming and upsetting their play.
Australia do look like they're struggling to get a little bit of momentum on their drives there. Turkish free puck here, but it has been a ref timeout called by the deck ref. Should we?
Yeah, I think the chief referee is wanting to give a warning to the Australians for the stick fouls, but at the same time I believe the Turkish are wanting to take a timeout. That's what one of the players were signalling for. Yes, I'm right.
Yep, so
they are wanting to take a Turkish timeout here for a minute.
So both teams have been issued with a team warning now for that stick infringement.
I think the Turkish was a blocking, barging, or obstruction foul.
That's right, it was.
What do you think Nick will be saying to his team? 4:16 left on the clock, down by 2. What do you think he's got to tell his players? Because it's do or die time now, isn't it, Nina?
That's right, it is. I mean, it's not impossible. 2 goals in 4 minutes, and if any team can do it, I would say these Aussie boys are probably the team that can. I'm sure it'd be telling them to keep their heads up, get in there, make it happen. The Turkish team will be looking to obviously keep shutting down that Australian play and just keep it out.
Yeah, I said before that this was the scoreline that the Australians took back in the group, but it was also with 5 minutes left that they began to do that. Just less than 5 minutes here for them to do it this time, but we'll just have to see how they can finish off this game.
Referee holding out the puck there. I'm not quite sure what that conversation was about, but
I think we might see a change in the Turkish dynamic here. 2 goals up, 4 minutes left. They might be more happy to hold it on that offside wall, try and use that strength to hold it there, but it's been turned over for Australia. Illegal use of the free arm being signalled there by referee Parra, and it's man out for 1 minute. And it looks like it's number 13 again. It could be number 12. I can't see too clearly.
Australia doing a nice deep switch there.
Just a shame to see it going backwards. I was right. It is the number 13 for Turkey, Hakan Kutlu, who has been sent out once again. That's his 3rd time out this match.
Australians fighting it down the wall, punching it down the wall here, trying. Oh, I think that might be a call against. It's a.
Yes, desperation to try and beat this physical French team, physical Turkish team. My apologies. Down at that wall, just trying to fling everything at it and getting a glove onto the puck, which is obviously upsetting the gameplay and being awarded against Australia. Look at that barrier flexing under the force of these
Yeah.
teams, giving everything to try and move that puck down the wall, but nobody giving way and eventually resorting to switching it off the wall. Australia players swimming into the Turkish. Nowhere to go, no
Beautiful
space in this pool, but
numbers down
space
in
now,
Australia.
numbers down for Australia.
A beautiful drive from Australia there, really keeping their numbers on the bottom and keeping possession. Turkey just managing to corral them over to the wall. Australia will be looking to open it up and play that space again. And it curled off the wall by an Australian back there and starting the switch.
The Turkish presence on the bottom just allowing these flicks not to get through, something that against other teams Australians have been doing so well with, but just their physicalness on the bottom and the fact they're staying down for such a long time, making it so hard for them to get these flicks off to one another.
Australia doing a lot of swimming here and managing to keep the puck on their stick, so
looked to me there like an illegal knockdown, but no calls by the referee. They might be playing an advantage, but I don't see any signals from the surface. So, oh yes, there's a referee. This might be that signal. No, it's a blocking foul. He's out for 2 minutes, and there's only 1:51 left on the clock. So if there's going to be a comeback by the Australians, it's going to have to start now with this power play. He's out for the remainder of the match. It's for number 2, who's been leading by example for this Turkish team.
Australia will be looking to capitalise on this power play here. And they have got it for the first time very close to their attacking goal tray. There's been another call made against Australia this time. Now that is a call for a stick infringement, and Australia were issued a team warning for that, so they should have a player kicked out now.
Yeah, that's the chief referee taking control of the pool. And yes, it's they've said a forward has to go out of the Australians, so here he goes. He won't get back in either, as his warning looked to be for 2 minutes as well. So 5 on 5 for this last 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Turkey keeping a lot of strength and possession behind that puck there as they drive it into Australia's defending corner.
Again, Turkey trying to go down the back wall, and this looks like it could have gone in the goal tray.
I think it has. It's in the bin.
It's in there. Has it been put in legally? Referees looking at one another. And yes, it's a third goal for Turkey. Looks to be like there's no way back for this Australian side now, unfortunately, Nina.
Number 3 from Turkey scoring that goal there. Turkish will be very happy with that. This has put them in a position to win the match. 3 goals up with 50 seconds left on the clock.
If this is to finish how it is, I think I'm right in saying that we've had a different nation win each gold medal. I know there was 7 on option at the start of the day just for Kiwis with 2 teams in. Under 19s ladies was a South African victory.
Yep.
The under 19 men's was a New Zealand victory. Under 23 women, the Colombians won, and here it's looking like the Turkish. And it has been such a close tournament with many games going into overtime, particularly in these last few days of finals. Turkey getting a beautiful run on, trying to score another goal in the last few seconds. Australia just managing to clear it wide, taking it to the wall. Yes, this men's under 23s division has been close from day one. The Spanish improving every day. Teams figuring each other out. And
Australia getting a run on here. We may have a breakaway goal to finish the match from Australia.
This would be really good to see the Australians finishing some voice. Yes, it was a great flick and a great swim to get the goal. Number 2 there with the goal for Australia.
McKenzie, the little Josh McKenzie managing to fight his way through some of those big Turkish boys there. There'll be a lot of people from Perth over in WA cheering this boy on. A lot of Australians at home very proud of his efforts. A beautiful goal from Australia to almost finish the match there with 10 seconds left on the clock.
Another player getting sent out for Turkey for 2 minutes, but it's a little bit in vain now, as with 10 seconds left on the clock. I don't think any way back for the Australians. It's great to see this consolation goal go in, and obviously the refs following up with his team warning, but just too little too late.
on 6 here for this final strike. And Australia has called a timeout. Not sure if there's anyone on the Australian team who can do a 25-metre sprint in under 10 seconds, but I'm sure that if there is, Nick Martin will be talking to them right now.
I'm going to say 10 seconds underwater on your own is perfectly doable.
That's
but
right.
but with 4 of those Turkish boys in between you and the goal, I think it makes it a little more difficult, especially to do 2. You'll need 2 5-second swims.
We can see the Turkish boys going out for that strike there. Australia looking like they're trying to do just that, but they have been corralled over to the side by the Turks. And the buzzer goes, signalling the end of this final match of this tournament. The Turkish victorious, leading 3-1 against Australia. The gold medal will go to Turkey, silver to Australia. And who holds the bronze in this division?
The under-23 men's team from New Zealand.
New Zealand.
Beating Colombia earlier in the game, another close match. And I don't think anybody, given the start of this tournament, would have predicted this result, but what an amazing victory for this Turkish team, having a year out while the tournament was in Eger and coming here and coming and getting the goal. That's a dramatic turnaround from Dordrecht, where I think they finished towards the bottom of the group table there with the Dutch and the Spanish.
That's right, Turkey haven't been a strong team, but it looks like they certainly are now, and I mean this really bodes well for their elite men's division too. If the under-23 men's can win a gold here against those Australian boys, then I'm sure in a couple of years they'll be very competitive in the elite men's division as well.
Yes, obviously next March, April time we have the tournament being held in Stellenbosch in South Africa, and we'll see what Turkey can take then. It wouldn't surprise me if a few of these boys were in that elite group of underwater hockey players. And it'll just be interesting to see how they come up, because there's some of the countries with bigger boys, obviously the Kiwis, Aussies, Great British, and South Africans and French. All of them put some slightly bigger players in, whereas at this age groups, some people that still haven't fully hit the gym and developed completely.
Exactly. You can see the Australians there, Coach Nick Martin talking to them. The Turkish boys celebrating in the pool, coming over to shake the ref's hands. A beautiful gesture.
Yeah, always nice to see the good show of sportsmanship by our team, and then they will go over and thank the Australians for the game. And it was a very good game of hockey. It was great defence by Australia through a lot of the game. Just unlucky that they never had the space to swim it and get that switch off, which we tried time and time again.
That's right. The Turks did a fantastic job of really shutting down that Australian play, and I think that's what put them on the back foot for most of the game here.
Well, thank you for joining me in the thank you for letting me join you in the commentary box here, Nina. It's been nice sharing it with you and Nick throughout this last few days. And that sadly brought us to the end of this 3rd age group World Underwater Hockey Championships.
And what a fantastic tournament it's been, with incredibly close games in every division. It's so exciting to see these young guys getting so close, because they are the future of this sport, and it really does bode well for some exciting tournaments ahead in elites and of course next World Age Groups Championships.
Yes, just one thing to say, and that's just thank you to some of the volunteers that have been here helping in all aspects of this competition, the organisers for setting up the pool and everything, the hotels, the referees who've dedicated their time into helping us do these games, because without them it would be a lot harder to run, and the technicians who've been bringing you these pictures over the internet. It's not an easy job for them to sit in. This is an equipment store we're looking out of with a small window. It's about 10 fans trying to keep us cool in here. And although there has been difficulties, it's very hard.
Absolutely going everywhere. It's mayhem in here. I don't know how they keep on top of it, but they've done an incredible job. So yeah, thank you to all of the volunteers and everyone who's been involved in making this tournament such a fantastic one.
Yes, and I think that's us done here. So I believe we might be bringing you the closing ceremony. But until then, it's goodbye from me.
All right. See you later.